You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 23rd, 2024 meeting of the LaPorte County Budget Hearing, Part 1. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning. We're going to call the 2025 LaPorte County Council budget hearings to order at this time. We're going to start off with a discussion about revenues for next year. So at that point, it up to anybody that wants to talk. Who wants to kick it off?
Okay, I'll start. So just for everybody's benefit, right? We take a look at general fund as a whole. Right now we're requesting $56,002,918, whereas our adopted budget last year was $54,288,384. So 1.7 additional that we're requesting compared to what we adopted. And I guess that's where let's talk about revenues in order to stay under what we bring in. Do we have any perspectives in terms of what we're bringing in right now? Any estimates?
Yeah.
You have the estimate of miscellaneous revenue in your budget form 2, page 4. There's the
So what I see here is 66,582,842, page 3 of the form 2.
That's for all of the funds.
that would be for all of the funds.
For all the funds. So general miscellaneous is 19,032,957.
Of course, the most significant thing is the maximum levy growth quotient, the increase from the state as far as the.
Did we run the calculations on what the increase should be with that 4% increase?
We don't have an exact number. It's
Got a ballpark?
about $1.75 million in the ballpark.
Is that before or after circuit breaker adjustments?
I don't know if we have a circuit breaker adjustment yet, do we?
Estimate
Estimate
6.5 or 6 point something
6.51.
million. Without looking, I don't have that, but it's.
I guess we got to get that for you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham.
I would just point out that we're in the middle of July, well, end of July, I guess, even now. So we still have 5 months to go in 24. And let's say we got 1.7 and 1.4, and add another million somewhere it comes in. Let's say we're 4 million over and above budget. I don't think there's anybody up here that would deny that we've done more than $4 million in additional appropriations in the first 7 months of this year. And we came into the year hoping that our 1% cushion of cash to budget, percentages had dropped from 27% down to 1%. So we're on a thin ice. The truth of the matter is, anybody that says we're not on thin ice better ask Mr. Yagelski, who's been here forever.
We brought this up last time.
Keep in mind that some of the additional appropriations are from funds that aren't
ARP, which
general
has.
Right.
Okay, let's come up with a number that you think. If
No,
it's not
I agree.
4 million,
I agree.
Pick a number.
I agree.
How about 2 million?
I agree. So one of the things I'd like to see going forward in budget hearings is the different accounts, and this is something that has been talked about in different council members, and I know Mr. Keel brought it up, and so did Adam. is revenue comes in. So any department, let's say like EMS that generates revenue, sheriff's department that generates some revenue that comes back, juvenile center. I asked for the profit and loss on the juvenile center. So what I'm looking for is the money that was brought in so that the numbers that you guys are receiving coincides with what they're saying that they're getting. They're saying that they're bringing back in excess of $1 million a year. That's what we're asked. That's what we're looking for, is what's coming back and what's coming in, so that we can, when we look at these budgets, we've got something to compare it to and look at. Right now we have, and I'm not disputing what people are saying, but there's nothing it should show in the budget. What part of the EMS's budget is made up, what are we getting in return for the billing that they're doing and everything else, so. Anyone else? You need to take a sip of that Mountain Dew to get started?
I mean, without a bunch of reports, I don't really have anything to talk about.
And we just got this moments before the meeting, so it's hard to take a look at this.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I said none were requested, so I didn't have anything printed up.
No, we're not, this isn't
We're not doing it.
no, this is something in the future that we've talked about, that would be a big asset to be able to see.
I didn't even say anything.
All right. With that said, we'll go ahead and get started with weights and measurements.
Which tab?
138.
These are.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dakota Euler, LaPorte County Weights and Measures.
As soon as I can get to it, I have a comment.
The fourth red down. They're in numerical order.
Got it.
138.
One of the things that I know that I would like to be looking at this year, and I think that I'm distance from the microphone good enough, is I'm going to be looking at the part-time hire on every budget, on every department. As one of them, there's other things as well, but on yours, I know that in the past, your departments had them. I just had a very quick discussion with you. This year, you've not had somebody, but I don't want to take it completely out, but I'd like to take it down. And I'd like to take it down to either $12,000 or $15,000 and like to see where you think it would be the best number for you.
I would imagine 12 would be half, just still have it funded and then.
If anything was needed, then we could add back.
Correct.
So we're looking to reduce that to $12,000 even.
Anything else? There's not a lot of,
No, we're not gonna nickel and dime the $100 items.
any other discussion on this one? What's your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion with that correction.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum to correct the count 10130, extra hire part-time, reducing that to the amount of $12,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Karankas. Any other questions or comments?
Do you know what the base?
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Levy growth quotient, what's the base of the general, and it's 40 something million, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next one is
Keep up the good work, Dakota.
building maintenance.
Publicly, Mr. President, I want to apologize to these two young ladies who I was probably a little harsh on last night. I've already done it privately, but I think I owe the council an apology as well.
Apology accepted.
Thank you, Mr.
On behalf of the
Cunningham.
ladies. Just kidding. So,
Take a couple to take a look at that. We need to talk a little later on that issue.
so account 142.
It's a good learning experience, Mr. Cunningham.
So earlier I mentioned this to a couple of the other councilmen. Account 3040 electric. my understanding, based off of just the general description here, I would consider that to be what is the utility of electric. NIPSCO, REMC, I&M. I know from year to date, there's about 12% of what's been expended so far has gone to different projects, which may be electric in nature, right? But we also have an account for wiring.
This is
And I'm wondering if we need to readjust some of this to where electric is used exclusively towards the utility cost, whereas repairs and other projects requiring wiring and things like that fall under the wiring scope. I know this is consistent. What we saw for the spend this year is consistent with what happened in the previous year. So it's not anything that's changed. It just seems to be something that we could probably be a little bit tighter on and need to look towards. So I think some adjustment is probably necessary there, based on the fact that it's, like I say, about 88-89% towards utility right now. Is that what you expect to see for the end of the year?
We need to.
Or is that something to where you have other projects that are kind of falling into this account right now that haven't been invoiced?
Actually, I am going to be short this year in electric in quite a bit. My calculations are about 500,000 short.
Can you prepare something and kind of split that out with projects versus utilities so that we can see that better when you come with the request?
Sure. I mean, there's been an increase in electric from last year to this year, about 10%. We've had a lot of unforeseen issues come up that we had to take care of, and that came out of electric because it was electrical.
Is this in reference to the generator that's at JSC right now?
No, it is not.
Okay.
That's not included in that.
Can you add a little details to what's the projects?
We've had some issues that we were informed was taken care of, actually by our department, and we found out later that they were not taken care of.
Previous bills?
Not bills, but repairs.
So were they contracted out or what?
The repairs were contracted out. Not contracted out, but yes, basically, they were not done by our department.
Right, so we outsourced it.
Yes.
And they didn't fulfill the requirement.
But when it wasn't done, when you said it wasn't done, was it you contracted it out and somebody didn't fulfill a contract, or was it something that just never got fixed and then you outsourced it to fix it?
It was something that needed to be fixed that we did not get fixed.
Right.
As the director, I was informed that these repairs were fixed, so.
By our department.
By our
We
department.
had an employee that stated he had done the repairs and all of the necessary work orders.
Right.
And we found out that they were not done and it needed to be done, so that's the point we had to
Okay.
get it done.
So right now, I see regarding electric, 619,993 expended through June, and with a $1.2 million budget, and those repairs are going to be another $500,000 above the 580 that's left.
She said utilities.
Yeah.
She didn't say just repairs.
Right, no, just our average NIPSCO bill runs about $91,500. So we are halfway paid through July, so we have till December to pay that per month. And I believe we only have
619,000, according to what we have left.
So she got about 580 left.
Yeah, 580 left.
Should almost get her.
Yeah.
There.
So If we've spent about 620,000 so far this year, and about 10% of that was non-utility bills, so electrical contractors that were getting work, why would there be another $500,000 on top of this for the remaining portion of the year?
Are those electrical repairs? Because according to this, if you're just paying, lack of a better term, NIPSCO bills, you should be able to squeak by.
Right.
So what is the $500,000 made of? Is that repairs?
Well, repairs, we also pay Kendall Electric, from that account. Basically,
And for parts and stuff?
Who's Kendall Electric?
repairs, we pay IMP also, and then
Right,
a
so
lot of
other-
repairs.
If you need parts and everything, but.
And
So
parts,
if
and
you-
lights, a lot of lights in the jail, everywhere.
If you could get us, and if you could put it together today, I guess, get
Okay.
us a makeup of what this $500,000 is
Sure.
that you're thinking that you're going to be short. So we got a better understanding of what it is and how, if you got 619,000, according to what we have here, the snapshot, how you're figuring another $500,000 on top of that.
We can't.
Can you do that?
right now.
Yes, I can.
If I get a break, I'll swing over and just help out wherever I can.
Okay.
All right?
Got a real quick
I
question,
definitely-
Auditor. On your thing here shows 2024-25
Like here?
requested difference. Is that budget to budget or budget to what we,
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
it's okay, the 2024 to 2025 requested budget difference, is that budget to budget or is that budget to what we gave them?
It's requested to requested.
Okay, that's it.
So,
Not necessarily adopted to requested.
So the problem is that we gave them 2.7 million last year, and the increase is not a decrease of 24,000, it's actually an increase of 168,000.
That's what I was trying to get, the numbers aren't adding up.
so the display I've got going on up here, although the aggregate one is very small, you go to the summaries, I made it big for everybody to see. I've made the difference column, the 24 to 25, to actually represent requested of this year versus adopted last year.
Same thing.
Well, the reason why I just brought it up is because you understood but how that budget was introduced to us last year. We approved the 24 for 23. So there would be a big difference on what we actually gave them to the difference of what we approved for them.
Yeah.
They asked for a whole lot more last year.
Correct.
Okay, because my numbers weren't adding up, that's why I asked the question. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I would probably recommend not using electric in the future for anything that's not strictly utility bills, because if it's strictly utility bills, we can then see trends in what is NIPSCO's rate increases and other utilities doing to our costs, and maybe we can ask questions then about energy savings and how we might be able to accomplish that. Another question on maintenance here. I'm listening for the line item.
So,
Yes.
then what would you recommend for all electric repairs and
30128
Parts.
wiring.
Wiring, yeah.
wiring?
And
Okay.
that might need a new name
name for it.
also, because
Yeah.
wiring is, it sounds like you're
Okay.
too limited. All we're doing is
Yeah.
buying wire.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that kind of leads into, so I'm looking at 20029 repairs to buildings. We only budget 90 or 85,000. Let's see, what was it last year? Was it 95 last year? This moved, didn't it?
We didn't have anything last year.
Yeah, you would have.
Repairs to it got moved.
Yeah.
Let's see, this was 20032
95 last year.
36
Right, it says,
0299. Okay, and it's moving to 302.
it says requested 0,
95,
requested 90.
see the note next to it?
Okay, so last year's adopted budget was 95,000 for repairs to building. This year, what's requested is 110,000. So we only budget $95,000 in the past for repairing all of the county's facilities.
That would be a good
Correct.
place for electrical, you could put electrical repairs in. What?
The 95,000 for emergency repairs. Then they come to us if they have other repairs. That's why we only budget $95,000. We have money all year long to pay bills. So if they have to, for example, like last night, if it would have been reasonable, we would have okayed the counter or whatever you're talking about.
But where do we have money to pay those bills?
Where did you, didn't you how did you approve those two last year?
ARP, but
Well, yeah, but that's still money.
temporary.
It's still money, though. If you want to change, that's a different conversation. But no, $95,000 for the last 40 years has been put in there, and then what you do is you go to our meetings and you ask for more for projects, and we understand what the projects are.
Great. So where is that money going to be sustainably coming from in the future?
Sustainably, we have still the money we're talking about. Now, we're talking about, we still have Riverboat coming, we still have all the funds coming in yet. We still have to, where's our cutting of the budget going to happen, which you and I have talked about before. Keep approving these budgets and we'll see what happens. Like I told you before, same conversation.
So-
where did we cut last year? What was the total amount we cut last year?
So billing, so some of that money from electric, as I stated, could go into building repairs.
Okay. I did increase building repairs to 15% due to material costs that have gone up.
30299.
We are currently at my calculations.
You moved it from 95 to 110?
Left this year. We do have a lot of building repairs in general. And then like the bigger things we do come back and ask for.
And some of the,
More
I
money.
mean, some of the issues this year that has put your administration behind the eight ball is some invoices from last year were paid this year.
Right. There was a lot of
Put you
invoices.
kind of behind the eight ball this year because things weren't, I don't want to use the word handled, things weren't budgeted correctly last year by previous administration. Not to beat up on you about, but it
Yeah,
put them
I
behind
just,
the eight ball, so now they're playing catch up because they're used part of their budget this year to cover last year.
That is correct.
So,
I was in the billing paying position last year. Basically under the previous administration, I basically follow directions from my previous. So
do you, at this point, is there any other questions, or if you could get that information for us, do you guys want to hold this over?
I have to hold it.
Yes.
Looking at it.
Let's hold
again,
this.
so, all right. So we're gonna, if you wanna come back later today or shoot me a text or tomorrow morning, whatever works for you, but that $500,000, if you could give us some explanation on that, that'd be great.
We were able to pull together your total building maintenance related costs, like things of like repairing actual facilities and how many additional appropriations we've done in the past several years. I'd be interested to see what are we routinely spending on that.
You get that out of
That
our,
would be
it's a lot of work to get done in 2
might be
hours.
an auditor question. Would you guys be able to
We can
stroke
run
of the
additional
key,
appropriations, right?
all the additional appropriations in building maintenance?
No one tracked it that way.
I'm not sure.
We don't track it that way, unfortunately.
There would be a report that would say additional appropriations this amount, well, but they're in all different funds, so.
Right.
I don't know how it would be.
I would have last year's only.
If you could get that, whatever you can get. All right?
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna hold that one over. Thank you.
What a history.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next item is surveyor. Account 106.
Morning.
Morning.
106.
106.
We can do 136 as well for drainage board.
All of
then
their
they-
budgets are under one tab.
And then they have section corner perpetuation this year instead of another meeting if you so choose.
Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second.
But 106 is
106 and 136 are together.
same as last year.
Hang on a second. Hang on a
One
second.
tab, it's,
All right.
Now you can go.
Good morning.
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 All right, 106. So your request is the same as
He's,
you're not asking for any increases?
Nope. And you'll see it in 136, we give you pretty sizable savings. But that's next.
from the, is that board members or party chief? Party chief.
Party chief, yes.
Yep.
In the next budget, 136, John South is now here and we replace Christy Kyle, who was here for 30 years, so that decrease comes from that. $8,721.
Is that purely steps?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
How many years of service did she have with the county before her departure?
I'm sorry?
28?
How many years was she here before?
28?
Christine?
Yeah,
She was here 31, almost 32 years.
Wow.
2 years. Now she's helping her dad in the private world, which is good because in the section corner realm, we might be able to utilize some professional services from lots of surveyors, and hopefully this opens up another door for us. But that's in the section corner perpetuation fund. The 106 is the same.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve 106 as presented.
Second.
I just want to hold for a second, just quick discussion.
Motion by Adam, second by Justin, go ahead.
Should we think about an overall 2-3% cut somewhere along the lines to start thinking about that, just to keep getting our costs somewhere back in line? I know it's pennies, but somewhere, something to think about as we do it, because I don't want to come back in December and say, well, if one of our options is to do a 3% cut that we were thinking about last year, and I don't want to get to a December meeting. That's what I'm trying to say.
When you're talking about cuts, are you saying like outside of salaries or across the board?
Outside of salaries, because and we're not talking about much money here, so I'm not saying this, I'm just introducing the concept, because, I'm trying, I told you I'm gonna try and cut the extra time, but he's got a budget here of $878, where do you cut that to? So, it's just a general concept.
So where do you cut that? So you suggested it, so.
And no place on this.
3% cut.
No place on this right now, because it's too thin.
I mean, if you look at it right now, the gas, fuel, and oil is more than half expended. Office supplies completely.
But just want to remind you, with the conversation that we had between Mr. Yagowski and Mr. Keel, that Mr. Yagowski says, well, they can come back and ask for it, and Mr. Keel says, we need to put it in our budget, and then we're going to blindly cut 3%, and that's going to force them to come back and ask for more money during the year. So we're absolutely contradicting each other by doing that. Okay. So, I mean, we can do whatever, we can blindly cut whatever.
We're all allowed an opinion to express.
I agree.
Something, so all I did was express something.
We're just gonna. We're gonna
More choices today or no?
We got 4 choices. Real quick. Try to get them up on a board behind me. Turn around and point. I'm just gonna get a sign that I can hit a button.
The total general fund, 75% is going towards salaries. Is that about right? Salaries and benefits.
I'll tell you here in a second.
He's gonna have the numbers, but it's gonna be about 75%.
73.4
Pretty close.
Of our.
So I mean, even if we cut 2% of our remaining
general
order, I don't think it's going to make a huge.
If the council would like to cut something in our budget, they can cut our $878 part-time.
You can cut part-time?
Or $878. We understand.
You don't need that?
We have not used it, and we don't see any need for it next year.
You should, okay.
We don't, it's, what do we pay?
Don't tell us why.
$12.50 an hour or something, and $878 isn't gonna last very long at $12.50 an hour. And it's really, it's someone we don't need. We have 16. We have a party chief and a rod carrier, and that's.
Yeah, we were filling
We
in.
need a third person.
Part-time starts at 13, so.
Okay, well.
It goes even less.
We were using that for fill-in when we didn't have the full-time party chief, so.
All right.
If you'd like to cut that, we could come back later if we had to have it.
You guys have the motion out there, so it's up to you what you want to do.
I'm willing to amend my motion in order to drop the 878 from, what do we got here? Looks like
130 extra higher part-time seasonal.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah,
Drop that to 0.
Second that.
Motion and second is amended. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hey. Thank you.
Thanks for the tip, guys. Appreciate it.
So we have another page.
Each item is
136 is the step decrease of $8,721 from the previous budget.
this is your perpetuation fund, so
No, we gotta go to 136 drainage board.
136,
The drainage board,
drainage board, last one, there,
and then we'll come back to
never
that.
mind, never mind. 136.
And this budget is really small for our drainage board.
And like, as you mentioned, you already cut 8,700 out of it from last year.
There, yeah, the overall cut is 8,700.
Motion to approve drainage board as presented.
Second.
Who seconded?
Cunningham.
Thank you, Ro. Motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
nay.
Thank you. We'll move on to 1202.
This is something we typically came back to during the year at some point, and it's now in the budget for next year. And this, the bulk of this money is section corner perpetuation, outsourcing if we need private surveyors, which we really struggle to get because they're all very busy. And if anytime we get them, we utilize them anyway for section corners that we don't have. We have approximately 490 section corners we have to find a way to get done. In LaPorte County, we have 2,490 section corners. So that's the bulk of this budget, and then the rest is money we try to utilize the section corner perpetuation fund to help out the regular budget general fund with the funds we get from the recorder.
When you're talking about the cost for the section corners and the private surveyors, you're talking about under the 30120? Mm-hmm. Extra.
Those can range anywhere from $300 to $1,200 to $1,500 depending on how hard they are.
But why do we have a 4,000 account, 400 account for other capital purchases?
$1,250. No, and this,
That's equipment, like our batteries or our equipment gets getting older and we have to update it.
That's not a capital project,
Capital
when
purchase.
or capital purchase, not a capital purchase.
he usually comes to us at the beginning of the year for permission to spend out of this, and we give him a blanket
Supplies.
permission to spend for the year, and a lot of it is for tools and other supplies and things like that, but,
But that just covers
It's not a-
supplies. If you
Yeah, this breakdown is something the auditor set up for us. So if you want to make
shouldn't be a 400 account.
something else.
Remind me again, what did you say that you spend that line?
Batteries, our equipment, technology goes old, some are hardware,
shovels, different things, any equipment is what's.
GPS antennas,
But it's not
data
a
collectors.
If you're buying a copy or a printer, it's a different story, and this is none of that.
Hey, are we talking about high-end equipment for 1,200?
Yes, you're talking, a data collector can run you $4,000, a GPS,
but that's
cheapest
not-
GPS head is
That's what you're
$1,000.
buying though.
If you're doing that, then you're gonna come
It
from
come in
permission.
front
Yeah.
of us. That's, so we don't need a 400 account.
So where are you gonna put it?
Supplies,
The 2,000, or the
Yeah.
2001 or the 20,000?
Other supplies,
They talking about
yeah,
2020.
other supplies.
yes, other supplies.
Mr. Hendricks, you said the auditor's office set this up for you? Or-
Yeah,
or
typically we come to you, we give you a list of everything that we have that we might buy during the year that whatever can we run out of supplies or GPS equipment or software we know we're gonna run out of. And then they set it up in different accounts now, so they can track that in different accounts. And not just out of the section corner general
The
account.
permission to
So you
spend.
guys set it up,
That's a permission to spend during the year for what we need.
would you like to elaborate on the intent?
But yeah,
Yeah, it's an appropriation, but now they've got an account so they can track it. Like if we buy shovels, different from if we pay for our software for the year.
not so much for tracking, just accounting,
Okay.
the chart of accounts.
Yeah.
So I also see 20,021, which was, what we got here? We approved, excuse me, we expended $2,073 out of it. And we're not putting anything into it? I'm confused here. Rhonda, if I'm looking at this sheet,
You talking about
I'm looking at
0112?
20021, second line.
Okay.
It's 5820, plus we were talking about moving the 1250 into that, and last year they spent, or current year, they spent 2,073 and 1221 on my.
It's a perpetuation fund, so that
so we're
money
not-
stays in that account.
Yeah, the money
And
doesn't
just like when he comes to us at the beginning of the year, it doesn't mean he's gonna spend all that money, it just means that he has permission to spend it needed out of that account. But it
Instead of
stays in that
doing
account.
It stays in this-
Appropriation, we're trying to do it in the budget.
I think
And
we
this
spend a
one-
lot of calories on a perpetuation fund.
Exactly, right.
Well,
I mean, it stays in there if he doesn't spend it.
it's all accounting of capital projects, and this is not a capital project. This is not capital.
So what's your pleasure?
So I'm gonna move to eliminate the 400 account, put the extra 1250 in the 2025 account, and the 2021 account, and move it forward.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike Rosenbaum, second by Adam.
Proper accounting here.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Park and Rec. Sorry.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
150.
Give me 1 second here.
150.
Yeah, in a minute, I'll sort of get to it.
Get it on there.
While we're all flipping to the tab, I wanted to share, after last night's meeting, it was brought to my attention that a metal roof at Red Mill County Park may not be the most aesthetically pleasing thing. And so I just wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts on,
Really?
yeah.
But you said that because I was wondering why you were going that way, but it's.
Well, no one stopped me. I asked, did anybody else have any other opinions
Yeah, I
on
mean,
it?
this is a standing
I think
seam. These
just,
are the,
I think just the absolute opposite.
yeah, the standing seam.
I mean,
metal roof.
now it depends on the color you pick.
Yeah, no, we've been going with like a bronze, we're not going with like the copper color. It's a darker brown, is what we've been doing.
I'd be surprised that I would think
gray.
especially on that building, I think a metal roof would look odd.
I
Depends
I
on
think
the
it
color.
looks good, but yeah, we're not going with anything real bright or silly on there. But yeah, I mean, when we put them on our shelters, I mean, I think they look really nice. So.
Do the, correct me if I'm wrong, is it LaPorte that you did a new update on?
Yeah,
With the metal roof?
Yeah, we put
Very
that
nice on the
shelter.
shelter.
The Shagbark shelter has a metal roof on it.
Kind of a
And-
bronze, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, they call it a bronze. It's not like a bright bronze. It's almost a darker brown kind
Blends
of.
in with the,
Yeah, I mean, we've done them at, we just put one out at Bloom on the shelter. We put one at a couple of the shelters at Creek Ridge. We've been putting on our foundation's been funding a couple of those at times, and yeah, I mean, I think
I'm
they
just
look
tossing
good.
it out there. I was only
Yeah,
looking at
no,
dollars and
I-
cents yesterday, so.
Yeah, some people may not like them, but to me, I think it looks really nice and sharp, And if you go out there now, like what's happened is you get those black streaks on the shingles, and I think that looks pretty rough. But
all right.
Predominantly, you have approximately a rough number, 28,000 and change increase. And I'm looking exactly this one spot where it falls in, and that's the very last item, 32044 consulting. I just figured that it'd be worthwhile hearing why the big increase, and I'm gonna guess it's some sort of long-term planning or whatever.
it's a plan for the Rolling Prairie property that we were just gifted from the
Plan
commissioners.
new,
Yes, planning for a new park at the Rolling Prairie
How many
property.
acres is that?
40.
40 acres with the lake.
Yep.
There's for lack of better terms, a small building.
Yeah, and we're looking at, that's gonna need some work eventually, but, we'll probably end up converting that. What we're wanting to do is convert that into a restroom and a small break room type space for the staff that would be out there at lunchtime or whatever.
So we're talking about like a landscape architect or something like that?
Yeah, this would be a engineer type, landscape, it would be probably a landscape architect, engineer type consultant that would do that. I've talked to one, they kind of gave me a price of 20 to 30,000. I think we could probably find some money for that, but I think, I put that on there just as a, hey, this is about what it's gonna cost. I think we could find some grant money. You know how I usually do. I can usually find some money from elsewhere, but.
There's a few firms around and worthwhile shopping, I think.
What's that?
I don't know if you have a preferred vendor or something like that for stuff like this, somebody that's done park work for you. But there's a number of them between at least all the adjoining counties. I don't know how many are actually in LaPorte County, but.
Right.
Few. But they're, yeah, this is a neat new project and opens up to a tremendous amount of possibilities. So
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I really want to have somebody come in with a lot of ideas that we're not even thinking of. So,
Yeah.
But that was it. So I'm ready to move this.
Yeah, that's the big increase. The other thing and Rhonda and I've been thinking about this a lot, changing that money from the 20020 to part of it to the 20021 and then the rest of it to 30013. So most of what we do is, as you know, is we fix almost everything ourselves. We don't hire people to do that. So, I mean, my preference would be to keep all of that, whatever that was, 7,500 in 20021, not keep it in, but move it to that 20021, because we don't have much in the 200 accounts, which is where you're supposed to use for buying supplies. That's what we use almost all of our money for, is buying supplies to fix things. We don't hire a lot of contractors. So I don't know if that's doable at this point, but you know, I would prefer to keep and like I said, Ron and I talked about it, and then I got to thinking about it more. The more we have in that 200 account is better for us, because we buy supplies more than we buy pay somebody.
So we're looking to make the 300,130 and then move the 1875 back to 20021.
Yes.
I'll make that motion and to approve the rest.
And as far as the 100 accounts, those are the only increases there were just step increases. So
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum,
I'll second it.
second by Justin.
I just want to point out that we budget $187,000 for maintenance for you.
that's my maintenance staff.
Okay, staff
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all 100 accounts.
Oh yeah.
my entire. If you look at it, we're running at, even with that 30,000 increase, $30,000 in there, we're running at about 20% in our 200 and 300 accounts as far as our entire budget. So 80% of our budget is salaries.
Do you do a great job of maintaining the parks and everything?
Excellent job. Do you see an issue with electric, being that you've spent about $8,000 halfway through the year and you have $14,000 budgeted?
Always been an issue, but the way I've done that, Justin, is I almost always use some of my non-reverting money, because we rent out those facilities, some of those facilities that use electric, so towards the end of the year we just use some of our income.
Yeah.
And I don't have, and that has been increased. That was increased last year some, but we still will spend more than that, and obviously can't control that, but we'll use our non-revertings to finish that out.
Which is essentially, like you said earlier, it's essentially user fees is what your non-reverting is coming from. So I appreciate that. Now, back to the $28,000 for just a second. Do I understand that part of that would also be from the Parks Board?
What's that now?
Well, so for when you start talking about the work to the Rolling Prairie, property, that some of that work may also be an investment from the Parks Board?
Well, this is all just Park Board money here. Park Foundation, maybe?
Park Foundation.
Yeah, Park Foundation. I haven't talked to them. I have a meeting actually tonight. I'm gonna mention that. Yeah, so the thing about the Park Foundation is most of the money they have are specifically for two parks, Lure and Bloom, and so they have some money that they could probably maybe give to that, but it's not like they have a big pot of money sitting there for a new property.
Would they be open to putting something out that anybody that wanted to make donations to this park in that area in the name of somebody or something?
These are discussions we need to have, but I think obviously the first thing is to get a plan and say, here's what we want to do out here, and can we try to raise money and try to get excitement behind it. We've got, things going in New Carlisle, obviously the battery plant, and we got Amazon coming in, and these are all things that are going to be close to there, and, working with the high school. And the plan that we're talking about would have a public meeting, out there in New Carlisle or Rolling Prairie area, try to get some people understanding what's going on, what we're going to do. And that's where I think we'll start raising some money for a project like that.
Okay.
And grants, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on 155?
No, sir.
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Next item is 1159. This is a
Jeremy.
non-recurring. What's that?
You got another one for me? Yep.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of myself.
Yes, and this one's kind of new that we're asking for this up front. Usually we just, I don't know what we call it. I always call it rolling over money from one year to the next, but because this is money that we bring in, and we typically need something to start off the season, or we're still expending from that when our other budgets are out. So this is just a start off point. I think the deposit refunds we absolutely have to have, because we got to get money back when they're cleaning deposits, right? And the other one is just kind of a start off the year thing. Again, we use that money for a lot of things like that.
In the conversation not too long ago, you said that you also sometimes use the non-reverting fund to use for utilities.
Yep.
For the electric. So should we be putting a line in here that says electric in some amount? I mean,
He's gonna transfer out of there anyway, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we could look into that and how much we've spent over the last several years.
I mean, it's just it was just a thought. May not be done this year.
Okay.
But it's something as we start seeing that this is since you mentioned
Regular
the trend of how we're funding something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we could probably do that with fuel as well and things like that. Good point.
So
because
we'll think about that for next year. I'm just.
There would be an amount. I mean, so he has $4,000 in a 300 account. He can move within 300s without seeking council authorization. So he can move it into his create an electric line item and move it into it, right?
Yeah, we typically, yeah, we spend just about everything you guys give us, and then we go to our non-reverting, and we spend non-reverting throughout the year as well. But typically, it's just we can definitely look into that and how much we've routinely spent over the last few years, and talk about doing that.
Excuse me. Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it park non-reverting that your board can approve? It doesn't need council approval?
Correct. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the non-reverting?
I typically come to the council just to, out of courtesy, let them know.
Good job. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rosenbaum, second by Keel. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item.
Comment real quick before he leaves. This is my 12th year on the council, and spread out over 20 years almost. But I wouldn't want to say this because it might be the last formal time we get a chance to say it. As your liaison and as a tax-paying constituent, I don't think there's any department that gets more done for positive comments from the public and less complaints. And you and Tim Morgan before you. And I just want to compliment you on that. I mean, a ratio of every department's got some complaints and some comments, some positive. But your ratio is probably 95% positive, so I appreciate it.
In that category of complaints, you're below average.
That's right. We get
I want to say,
few,
that's a good thing.
Usually we can handle them without it getting.
I appreciate your passion. I mean, because obviously you're in it for the right reason. So
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Have a good
You too.
days.
Next item is EMA. This is, we moved them up.
What number is that, then, Randy?
From 153.
Thank you.
5-3.
No problem. I had to look it up myself.
Good morning.
Morning, Rob.
Good morning.
So your budget's the same as
Yes, the only thing is, what I'm requesting is to move the radio officer and communications officer money into the maintenance and repair. These accounts have been sitting there for several years and they aren't being used. And I'm trying to get somebody to actually come in and work those positions. There really isn't enough money in them to really do anything. So what I was requesting is just to have that, what is it?
You got moved into 30013 account.
Yeah, right.
So
Correct.
it's already been done.
So that's pretty much all the changes I have from last year.
I'm doing this with everybody in the part-time help and seasonal help. You used to have somebody that was on a regular basis that worked for you on a part-time, like every day in the office for a few hours or something.
Well, we have a part-time position that's open right now. It's not these two accounts, but
It's the 10130 account.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, is, sufficient, insufficient, cuts available?
Are you gonna fill it?
Well, we hired Cody the first year, and I didn't want to have two people trying to train two different jobs at the same time with all the work we had to do. So trying to get him up to speed, and as soon as we get through this next couple of weeks, then I was going to pursue replacing that, or hiring that position.
Okay.
So you anticipate using that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, it's not like I was just letting it sit there and it was going to go away. I just had a lot going on. It was
before, and I just want to make sure that.
Right. I just had a lot going on. I didn't want to. It was too much to handle at one time.
Well, the fair and then also the other summer activities and planning with coordinating with the cities.
And then we had the storms and everything going through and the flooding
And by the way, they just declared an emergency. I think a thing went out to the commissioners declaring an emergency for the storm that went through.
Okay.
Which is,
I haven't seen the paperwork yet, but I know it's out there. So
right, should be able to give the citizens a little bit of relief for resources to go after.
Correct. And just on that point also that the state will have their damage assessment teams tomorrow. They should be in the area. So,
Mr. Yagowski.
So I point out that this last storm came through. My phone went off way before the county sirens went off. So it's working. We had talked about what the future is. My phone, both my wife's phone and my phone went off early in the stages for the pre-warning of that storm that hit the other night.
You got a siren? I don't have a siren near my house, so I know. I'm just saying.
Yes, Michigan City has.
They're not. Yeah.
They have more. They have like 3 or 4 of them actually.
Definitely.
Yeah. No. We also received phone alarms, and we took quick and immediate action.
Yeah, the weather sort of that storm that came through did a lot of damage in a couple areas of
right through Wozniak,
out by Wozniak Road.
Yeah,
a lot of damage out there, and the city of LaPorte received quite a bit.
Thank God there was no human injuries.
Right.
I guess.
Right. I think with that storm there was one fatality, and that was in Lake County.
Right.
I believe. But
I wanted to ask about the line item for maintenance of sirens. We've talked about over the years the need to have those sirens maintained. I see there's a maintenance and repairs line item, but is that really used for sirens, or do you have funding for that?
the 3013 account. That's is that what you're talking about?
What do you just?
Is that what you?
That's why I wanted to move that money there so we could use it towards the sirens and stuff.
It used to be in the 20030 account, the 14,000 that was moved down. Okay, also so.
You feel comfortable that's an adequate amount to be maintaining them on a regular basis?
No.
But he'll come to us because typically he's going to have to get a contract.
He currently has a study that shows what needs to be done to all the sirens that he'll be presenting soon. But there's the issue is that over the years there's Federal and American Signal, and the parts were mixed, and so neither one of the vendors really want to come out and mess with the sirens because they have
American Signal will not come out because they don't have permission or permits or whatever to work in Indiana. So what they do is they hire Marcus Electric.
Right.
So we just go to Marcus instead of going to them.
Right.
No, they didn't bid it.
So, but yeah, that's.
And actually, this would be good use of some ARP money at the end of the year to get this in as
Get this
quickly as we
upgrade.
can and get
The study
that-
identified which sirens needed work, but I don't think it actually said prices on it, did it?
We did a part of the study was what it would cost, and I don't know if they did like what it cost each siren, but I think there was a total, and I'd be guessing off the top of my head without having the paperwork in front of me, but I think it was like 1.2 million to have them all completely up to 100%. And that's not replacing, that's repairing. And it would be probably over 2 million to have them completely replaced.
With brand new ones.
With brand new ones.
and it may take
Just for an example though, Porter County, they have American Signal sirens and they have their annual budget's like 75,000. That's just for keeping them up. And they have a electric company comes out once a year and goes through them all. Make sure they're all up and running, and then they kind of do their own repairs if it's minor stuff that they can do.
I think at some point we need to make a decision. We're either gonna keep them or not keep them and go forward. If that's the avenue, we need to commit to it, and if it's not,
And
we
also,
need to focus on the
we
electronic.
should focus right now on grant, because this is a huge idea. This falls into a lot of grant possibilities.
So,
Yeah, I hope you'll bring it back to us for like a full funding request for it, because we now have the study. We know that the sirens aren't working. We haven't communicated our intentions to people about what we plan to do in the long term, so we're kind of in a situation that's
we're kind of like in this-
ideal.
Forward that out
holding it
to
right now.
everybody, or if you want between now and tomorrow, if you want to make copies and bring them back.
Of copies of the
siren study.
Study. Yeah, I've got copies. I mean, I think I sent them out, but I can resend them again.
I have a digitized version of it if you want me to forward it.
Okay. I'm not sure if it'll be right away because we've got a lot going on with the damage assessment. So I mean, we've got the teams coming in tomorrow. We'll be out.
Right.
Make a motion to approve it as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Karanka. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. We're gonna take a quick break. We're waiting on,
But Barb's here.
who's here?
Barb.
Oh, somebody else should have walked in. Who's this?
The vice.
Is this winning candidate that just walked in?
Eric's not ready either.
Randy, it was sarcasm.
It can be.
Should hear everyone.
We're 17 minutes ahead.
Yeah.
Is everybody about ready? You ready?
Are we on schedule now?
If you get ready, we gotta get back.
Just gotta get to it.
You turn that on?
He did.
Oops, okay. You know I.
All right.
I didn't hear it say
We're gonna
that.
resume. It didn't say recording, but it never said it stopped recording before.
Actually, it was pretty freaking comfortable.
Says recording.
All right.
She said push the button.
Voter registration, 134 and 246.
I'm having trouble finding it.
Right? 130, voter registration,
130, yeah, it's written wrong.
134,
No, it's actually 132.
Yeah.
okay?
132, 246. Yep. They're all together though, right?
It's just 132.
Yeah.
You'll only have one budget.
By the way, this is the most organized book I've seen. I love the fact that all the colors are lined up and it's numeric order.
Thank you for the kind compliment.
Just handing them out left and right.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, this is the 12th time I've been through this, and seriously, the numeric order, it used to be we'd put them in the order if you thought they were gonna come in, and then they would all change, and then you couldn't find them.
I agree. All right, 132, voter registration.
Okay, I'd like to make the following motion. I'd like to keep the numbers on all the accounts except for the extra higher part-time. I'd like to keep that at the 2024 amount so that they stay with the same number of hours.
What's your reasoning for a request that?
So, as you know, we were, with,
Wait, was that a motion?
That was a motion.
All right, hang on a second. So there's a motion, is there a second? For that?
Second.
Motion is second, now.
Now we can talk.
sure. So,
As you're aware, last year we came up short for our part-time hire seasonal, and that was because the raises that had been built in the year prior were not built into the budget. So this is just us catching up to the 1650. We have 20 hours per worker per week at 1650. That's what that amounts to. And that was just the amount that they had been promised. So without that amount, we're short what we were promised, is what we're trying to say.
So you're saying that if we move forward with Mr. Rosenbaum's motion, we would be essentially reducing the hours for these
Correct.
workers?
Correct.
Was that the intended
Yes.
consequence?
Yes.
Right now I see adopted $28,080, expended just over half. I mean, 14,000, not even 500. So with halfway through the year, we're about where we'd expect to be. And we're looking to increase it by 20%. That makes sense for what we've got going on in voter registration and
The amount we're requesting is exactly what 1650 times 20 hours a week for 2 people for a year is. We're not asking for more or less.
You're maintaining those people? I mean, it's not,
Correct.
got that position full?
That, right.
The difference is if we're ahead, it's because like if they take time off or whatever, we don't allow them to make it up or anything. So that's why we're ahead a little bit.
And I expect that to continue because they're gonna take vacation time, they're gonna take holiday time. We watched this happen last year also.
But we're also in the middle of an election year that's going to be much more busy.
Not next year.
This is next year's budget.
Okay,
Next year, there's no elections.
that's true.
So,
Do voter maintenance on the off years, and that's also something that the part-time works very hard to help us with.
yeah, but then since there's no election, it allows you also to do some of it as well, and then we can revisit again next year.
We do
Yeah, there-
work.
I know you do work, but you also don't have to deal with an election. So
Right.
that cuts back a lot of your work that you
So the state adds more work
They add more projects.
on the off years because they know we don't have an election. So there's other voter projects, mailers, things that we have to do on the off years. So we still have work, quite a bit of work. And we do still need our part-time workers during that time.
Just for clarification, you have 2 people working 40 hours, generally speaking, right?
37 and a half.
And we're not paying any benefits. Oh, let's back up to that. Do they work a half day or do they work every other day? What's the normal?
Half day, yep.
Okay, they each work a half day. So it's pretty cheap labor. When you consider there's no benefits, they don't get paid for vacation time, they don't get paid sick days, they don't get any of those fringes, correct?
Correct.
1650 is not cheap.
1650 is pretty cheap when McDonald's is paying 1550. So I would say for county government handling personal records, I'd say it's pretty cheap.
I'm certainly leery about reducing the number of hours without more details, but I'm interested to hear your rationale behind why you want to reduce
Because
it.
the part-timers, if you go if you go by that office as much as I do in the past several months, they're not there so many of the days. And it's not like I'm going through the lunch hour and stuff. So therefore, we're giving them more money than what they need. The part-timers do not do, 20 hours a week for 48 weeks.
Insinuating that they're getting paid for not.
No, I'm not saying that. They're getting paid for what they're doing. That's how come we're only at 14,000 this year.
They're a half a day.
But they don't get paid when they're not there. And then there are several days that they're not there. That's why the 14,479 for the first 6 months is half of the 28,000.
But they're not there at the same time. So some days when you come in, one person might be there and the other one's not because one works in the morning and one works in the afternoon.
But I'm talking about when neither one of them are there.
But they're not. But then they're not getting paid.
They don't have to be there.
So why am I giving?
Wait.
Why am I giving money?
He's not
if they're
disagreeing
gonna-
with you. What he's saying, Randy, they've only spent 14,000, so he's agreeing with the numbers. Where he doesn't see the increase, is what he's saying. He's agreeing with you.
I'm agreeing that
You're same page.
they don't always work 20 hours a week is what I'm saying.
Well, of course not. There's some vacation days, there's some holidays, there's some.
Sick days.
They're not gonna get 20 hours a week.
So you think if you spend
So
14,000?
then again,
You're not gonna pay them more than 20 hours a week.
for the
Exactly.
record, here's what we're creating.
Your mic.
Here's what we're creating. They're gonna come back next year. They're short because it's not the budgeted $16.50 an hour. If they're gonna do the 20, if they do the 20 hours, which is what's in the budget, they're gonna come back next year, and we're creating another incidence. There you go. Where we're just coming back to do it. So,
Okay, so split the difference, literally. Why don't we look at splitting the difference? 31,000.
Give me a moment. We have a lot of vacation days here, so I'm just trying to redo the math.
they're part-time. They don't get, they're
That's-
paid for the vacation, right?
That's why they don't work 52 weeks, okay?
How do you know they take, how do you know they take a lot of vacation? We have a lot of vacation. I don't understand that. God.
So basically, if they leave and we have to hire somebody else, we can't hire somebody else for a guaranteed 20 hours a week because,
Are you gonna hire them at 16.50 or you're gonna hire them at a lower rate to start?
I don't know, it depends on what their qualifications are. They might not work for less than 16.50.
I have a problem how we got to 16.50 to begin with, so. Let me just play with some numbers.
1650.
Starting wage is 13 and it's supposed to be, and they're supposed to go with experience or
It
help.
was a range.
It was a range. It was never supposed to be, you get hired at the top wage.
But we're talking about employees that we
He's
don't,
asking,
we don't know.
man, he's asking a question. We're not answering his question.
I get it, but we don't know the background of these.
I didn't say that. I'm just answering.
No, I
I'm
agree.
answering.
I agree.
Okay, but I'm answering his question.
I agree with
Well, I
that.
know what you're trying to interrupt it.
I didn't try to interrupt.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway,
Yes, you did.
all right.
So I come up with a different number than 34,000. If somebody works 20 hours a week, saying that they work 48 weeks because we haven't seen that, there's what, 18 holidays? 17 holidays, that's almost 4 weeks. So just rounding it up to 4 weeks, so 48, 1650 times 20 hours is $330 a week. Times 2 is $660 a week for the two of them, times 48 weeks equals $31,680. That's the number I'm willing to go to.
You said 31.
What I just said.
You just said that. Your partner just
I
said
didn't
that.
hear it because I was doing my calculation.
No, that's fine. So 31 even?
31,680.
It's on 31.
Is that amended motion?
That's my amended motion.
I'll amend my second then.
So we amended to 31,680 or 31 even?
31,680.
All right, got it. Motion and a second to amend account 10130 part-time, approve as amended with that going to 31,680. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. How many nays? Two? Two?
What was it?
You and Mark?
I thought it was 3.
I didn't hear.
Nay.
So 3.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
We don't do roll calls in budget. Oh, I'm sorry.
3.
Why
Councilman-
voted for and against?
Okay, Mike, Mr. Keel, and
I'm
Mark.
sorry, yes, for roll
There's 3
call.
people.
Okay, who were they?
We'll fulfill our statutory function.
Keel and Mark Yagowski.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. All right, wasn't that hard?
31,680.
Possible.
Come back if
You
you're
can take the
short.
roll.
Come back if
Like
you're
you did
short.
that one time.
More than 3 days.
I know you have.
And
We're good. You refused to do it.
next one up on the agenda is Purdue Extension. Yes, sir.
You guys on
Track?
schedule by the agenda there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. If anything, a little bit, we're running good.
11:30, 11:45, still good then?
Yeah, perfect.
Hang on one second. We're going to Purdue Extension, jumped in.
133. Also known as County Extension Office.
Very next one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Fabulous fair.
Thank you.
And a lot of other good comments came from,
And the numbers are up?
Yes, they are.
in all
On
areas.
track for 2,000 within,
With
For the year 33rd.
well, now we're down to
4?
3 years?
I was gonna give you 4.
4 years, okay.
All right, yeah.
Okay, I think we'll make it.
That's fantastic. Your increase, what is it? Is that based
The
on?
increase is in the extension educator contractual services. That's the increase requested by Purdue University. Otherwise, we moved some of the numbers around, but we didn't increase our budget at all, the total. We took money out of our postage and we added it to some of the other accounts to make it more realistic as to what we spend.
Is this Purdue giving a raise to the educators?
It's the contractual services for the 5 educators that we have in our office, so I don't know exactly how Purdue uses all that money. You can talk to Kelsey about that.
Sure you do.
I do. So, I know this has not been it's been all the way in the past.
Right.
Whatever we give, like last year, 2024, did you, Mr. Ott, or did you guys, we didn't get no raise in 2024, but I know contractually, some of their office staff did. Did we give that, or did Purdue pay for that amount of money, you know? Or could you find that out?
We did not amend their budget to.
Understand that, but, so that basically, the contractual services, that what you guys negotiated as your contract, but that's over and above us, and so.
Is it safe to say, I don't know this answer, but is the educators paid from salary or are they paid by Purdue?
They're paid by Purdue, so that contractual services, the county pays Purdue and then Purdue pays the
Correct.
educators.
The commissioners.
And they take care of all their benefits.
Commissioners sign a contract with Purdue Extension.
But in the past, always in the past, we have never agreed to make the payment what Purdue negotiates. So when Purdue picks up that cost, so in other words, if we're reimbursing for the full amount, we should not be. It should be whatever this year, but the year before we gave a big raise, they probably took that raise, but this year we have 0 raise. There should be 0 raise what we gave them back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but they would pay it from their own budget, so we don't see that as all I'm saying. So it would be whatever you approve for them to pay.
No, but they're billing, because contractually, the commissioners signed this, they're billing us and we're paying them back. So we should not be giving them any increase in wages.
So, Mr. Yagowski, are you saying that the 248,550 should be 241,295?
Yes.
Which one again?
That'd be account 30292. That was previously listed under 10235.
It used to be 10235, right?
I'm going to go on a limb here and say that if we have a commissioner sign a contract with Purdue Extension, that contract is being paid in full and it's not being reduced because we did or didn't do something, because I don't think the two ever meet up.
Okay.
And
I agree. Yeah, I'm agree.
Reality.
Because every year and you can go back through all my motions.
I agree with you 100% what you're saying. I'm just telling you, I think what the reality is and what you're implying and stating aren't meeting up, because it's a contract with Purdue and the auditor's office is fulfilling that contract with payments. And it's not, we're not altering it in any way.
We should hold this. I'm not problem with this, but we should hold it. At least go back and we can always change it. Right. We should wait till the commissioners come in.
Right. So this is
not your argument. It's
Approve it conditioned on commissioner approval?
Yes. On with their contract, probably. If they wrote that contract.
When's your contract coming?
The contract we usually get in November,
Right.
the end of the year, and it's due by December for the next year.
Right. Can you,
So this
and
fall.
I probably have it somewhere in my emails, but could you have Kelsey send that contract for last year?
I can do that.
Just so that
And I can tell you the chancellor's called me up, not recently, but the chancellor's called me up in the past personally, want to know why I negotiated that way, and I says, you cannot negotiate for us, for the county.
Right.
And that's why I had a discussion with him.
All right.
And that's why every time, if you guys look back at my motions, it's always been minus the cost of their contract.
So what's your pleasure on this?
That's why I can't, because you have to do what you want to do. I have to wait for the commissioners, let us know what they got.
So you want to hold this over?
I can hold it over. You don't have to come back for it. I just gotta find out what the commissioners actually.
Okay.
Can we make a motion to approve contingent on commissioners?
You do, if you guys want to.
Clarification on the.
If you guys want to, sure.
Motion
make
by
that
Mr.
motion.
Cunningham,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item is the Public Defender 180.
I don't think I got that in here.
What?
I know how you guys
You wear many hats.
have so much fun in one morning.
2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
You say 180 already?
He said
180.
180, it's close to
Red,
red one.
next to last.
Got it, thank you.
All right, Mr. Laux.
That's the other thing, we're on the same colors too, that's good.
You guys ready?
We're ready.
Yep, I'll wait.
No, we're good.
Good morning, President Novak and esteemed members of the LaPorte County Council.
Wow.
Good morning, Adam. I stand before you today as an appointed board member of the LaPorte County Public Defender Board. It is my honor and responsibility to represent a cornerstone of our justice system, the Public Defense Office, a beacon of hope for those who by circumstances cannot afford legal representation. I say this because when I was appointed to this board, I knew very little about the constitutional responsibility of public defense, so I assume not everyone does. In the 3 years I've been appointed, we have taken a focused look on this office by meeting regularly, providing more fiscal oversight, and trying to more effectively communicate the happenings with elected leaders. Many of you have heard from me in the last few years. Today I have the privilege of introducing Miss Elizabeth Flynn, the newly appointed Chief Public Defender of LaPorte County. Ms. Flynn succeeds Craig Bragi, a veteran whose dedication to justice and equality has left an indelible mark on our community. You all remember Craig started the public defense system in this county in the 90s, and he has now been retired. Ms. Flynn brings to our county a wealth of experience, a fresh perspective, and a deep commitment to upholding the constitutional right to legal defense. Her leadership arrives at a critical juncture of our public defense system as we seek to navigate the evolving challenges of providing competent legal representation to all citizens, irrespective of their financial needs. As you know, Valparaiso Law School has closed. It has made getting lawyers in our area supremely challenging. In light of this, I wish to address an issue of paramount importance for the upcoming fiscal year. The budget for our public defender's office. As we know, the ability to offer robust public defense services is not merely a local concern, but a state mandated requirement. The state of Indiana has set clear expectations and guidelines that equate the compensation of public defenders with that of prosecutors, recognizing the equally critical roles both parties play in our justice system. However, to recruit and retain the legal talent necessary to fulfill our constitutional obligations, we must reassess and increase the budget allocated to the Public Defender's Office. It's a matter of public record that for every dollar spent on public defense, if you are a budget person, you love this, the state reimburses the county 40%. This incentive underscores the state's recognition of the significance of public defense, and it serves as a reminder of the mutual benefits that accrue from investing in this fundamental aspect of our justice system. And by enhancing our investment in public defense, as we need to do, and I would argue constitutionally mandated to do, we can avert the costly consequences of inadequate legal representation. Consequences that manifest not only in the lives affected, but also in the potential for liability lawsuits against the county. And there's nothing like messing with lawyers. Therefore, it is a moral and fiscal imperative that we address this need today and in the future. As you deliberate on allocating the county's resources, which I can already tell in the last half hour is an unenviable task, I'm sure, remember that the essence of public defense is preserving justice, fairness, and equality under the law. I don't think there is a more important thing that any citizen can be guaranteed. By supporting an increase in the budget, and Ms. Flynn will explain what we need, we will not only be fulfilling a state mandate, but also investing in the integrity of our legal system and the well-being of our community. I genuinely appreciate you guys. You know that. And it's an honor to serve as the county's liaison to this board. And I'm going to give you over to Ms. Flynn, who's going to introduce herself and provide more information about what we need and discuss the current happenings in the county's PD office. But as the liaison to this board, I want you to know that we are working on more efficiencies and continuing to build what I think is the best public defense office in the county, or in the state.
I just want to say that was the best introduction.
Other departments are going to be envious.
You've raised the bar. You've raised the bar, that's for sure.
And in this corner.
And we now have it on as the commercial.
There we go.
Yeah. You're good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Elizabeth Flynn. It's a little tough to follow that. I had a number of remarks I was going to make about the importance of the Public Defender Board, the public defender system as a whole, but I believe that Mr. Laux has more than filled you in on that. I am asking for an increase. Ultimately, I believe that it's going to be about $162,000 of that increase, and I have been sitting through this morning, so I know that this is something that's probably not going to be as easy to swallow, because the majority of that money is in fact to increase the positions that I presently have. I'm looking for in essence a $5,000 increase for each of my public defenders. This is absolutely essential. It's essential for a number of reasons. First, and most importantly, if I do my job, you, the county, will be reimbursed 40%. So although I'm asking for $162,000, that is not in essence what will be required from the county. Probably closer to right around $100,000. But why it is so imperative. The first, and this goes without saying, I have some of the absolute best lawyers on our staff. The best lawyers here in LaPorte County happen to be public defenders. They've been on, many of them have been part of our system for 15 to 20 years. They are deserving of this increase. But more importantly, I am getting pressure from downstate. You all know that I'm part of the Public Defender Commission that oversees. And again, if we do our job, you all will receive 40% back. But as a result, I am required to do certain things. Part of which I do get input from downstate. Part of that is that I must work to get our office in parity with our prosecutor brethren. And at this point, we're not. I can't equate the higher level attorneys, but I can equate what our lower level attorneys are. So these are going to be your misdemeanor, your level 6 felonies, your 4D. So the prosecutor's office, they're making anywhere between 52 and 53 to 71,000 plus full benefits. My folks are making 45.6.
With no benefits.
With no benefits. And what I think is really important, our folks don't get any kind of reimbursements. So postage, copies, all of those types of things, this is coming directly out of those attorneys' own pocket. These are all things that in time and as I continue to appear in front of you all, I'm going to slowly try to remedy, but I think it's important to understand kind of the stark nature of the difference. Also, because of this incredible issue that we're having with lawyer shortages, I need to be able to recruit. So as a result, I need to bring lawyers into LaPorte County. Now, historically, that wasn't that difficult when we had Valpo open. People fell in love with the area, people migrated. Now what we're relying upon is people who are either coming home, because this is where they grew up, or alternatively a spouse or some reason to come to LaPorte County. So I am competing with all of the fellow counties to try to get this legal talent. With that, we're falling short. Porter County, Lake County, Elkhart County, St. Joe County, all of these counties are offering full benefits. In addition, their salaries are considerably higher than what we have. Now, I know it doesn't always feel great to pay lawyers more money or to pay public defenders more money, but this is absolutely essential, because if I am not able to fill those positions, ultimately our criminal justice system will grind to a halt. And I have a perfect example of that. Within about 18 months or so, I had 2 of our juvenile chins attorneys who resigned. So of my 4 positions, 2 of them resigned. I had such difficulty filling those positions that multiple months passed during that time. And Judge Alvisos, Magistrate Stallworth, they could both appear before you to tell you how much chaos that created. Chaos for the litigant who didn't have counsel, chaos for the judges and their calls, and chaos just for the court staff. So it is essential that I am able to recruit and get lawyers into LaPorte County, but also to be able to maintain the lawyers that I have. And I know that I'm on the brink of losing several simply because of time, age, retirement. So I think in light of the reimbursements that I can get you if I do my job, in light of the absolute essential need, I believe that our ask is appropriate and we're asking you to consider it.
Yeah. While you were starting, I was typing in. This is the numbers. If we go with last year, if we go with the 2024, it was a $1.5 million ask, and if all the reimbursement, it was over $600,000, costing us about $920,000. Okay, if the reimbursement is full 40%. And looking at 2025. With the increase of 162,000, it brings us to 1,695,000. 40% reimbursement is 678,000, or 1,017,000. But the difference between the two is not just over $97,000. I know that we've been cutting little bits here and there in some places, but I'm sure that we can match a cut of $100,000 to cover this, is my belief. And I would like to make a motion to approve this as presented.
Second. Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Keel to approve as presented. And I just want to echo that if this continues as it's going, what I see from downstate is we're going to be mandated at some point to make this change, because the judicial system is starting to slant to prosecutors. They get this representation, and no disrespect, but the defense attorneys, if you're not compensating them equally, sometimes you get different levels of service. Right, exactly. So
My comment on that would be very simply that the additional 100,000 probably is far less than a couple lawsuits against us for incompetent representation. So it's a wise investment in the long run. I mean, you tie up court time, you tie up additional attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. And truth of the matter is, the easiest way for them to argue is the prosecutor's getting $70,000 and you pay my defense attorney $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year. That's option number one. So it's like anything else. The cost of operating is going up, and it's certainly going up for the public defender just as much as it is for the prosecutor.
Agree. Mr. Yagowski.
How much do you have in the public defender's fund right now?
I don't know the answer.
This is part of the general fund, isn't it?
No.
No?
No, you're not allowed to.
It's their individual account.
Their individual account.
It's very restricted.
We understand.
Are you talking like what I call our supplemental account?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that of the money, I believe under $1,000 has been utilized, so under 1,000. So there is a substantial amount. So we have a litigation fund, a supplemental fund, and then of course.
It's got to be in excess of 500,000. I mean, it's a substantial amount of money in there.
Yes, I believe.
It's very restricted. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, years ago we tried to use that and we had to pay it back.
Well, what happens, we used it, but we used too much of it, then we had to pay it back, pay some back because we exhausted the fund.
Right.
So, the question is, I understand, I thought with Mr. Brady that we worked out something, and it was because we couldn't put them under our insurance. Did we not give them some kind of
reimbursement?
You did. And so when I quoted those numbers, I just included those as our base numbers. So before that, those attorneys were at 40, but you ultimately provided a $9,600 increase, or a kind of a subsidy for the lack of benefit.
For them to go out and get insurance instead of putting them on an account.
Or use it for whatever purpose it is.
Taxable.
Yes, but of course, as you all know, that the typical, I know for instance, looking at some of our competitive counties, they base those packages at 15 to 20,000. So although very generous with the 96.
I didn't, so I'm not disagreeing. So of the 100,000, and I just said, because that money's not as restricted as you could use that, some of that money for pay, for.
The supplemental, no.
Okay,
That
what can
is
you-
one thing.
Okay, what can you use it
So for instance, and this is the rare occasion that we use it, and it's kind of an unknown. I can't get a lot of guidance from downstate, and what Mr. Brady has always told me is I can utilize it for anything other than to pay my staff. But occasionally we may have a conflict, an individual that comes through that none of my staff can represent. We've had several of them. What happens then is that we have to go to the state public defender. We have to ask for a public defender to be appointed, and then we repay them.
You can
and that's what
that's the source. That's what I was requesting it back. So you answered my question. So when you were short those people, that's what there was a way under Mr. Page's terms to get somebody to help out, or whatever you want to use.
we would have to go to the state.
Understand.
Yes, and then you pay. You're going to pay one way or another. But yes,
But we actually use the money from the fund because the fund is very restrictive, so it's really not that bad of a deal.
perhaps. I don't think that's really what it's meant for.
Well, unfortunately, they wrote it so restrictive.
Yes.
That, so we did use it. I know, I'm just saying, because I've been here long, I remember the past. So he did use it on occasion to go to the state, and that's what I'm just saying. On this, that would have been a perfect situation to use the state and use that money.
Correct.
Here's an idea with the amount of attorneys that you have.
You guys get that or no?
Is it possible to lobby the state to maybe change some of those restrictions? Because it seems as though this account has a huge amount of money in there, but it's very, very restricted. So if and I'm not saying take all of it or loosen it all up, but maybe a portion of that, instead of whatever figure they've got going in there, but recalculate it so it's still there and substantial, but some of that money's deferred to help cover the cost of public defenders.
Certainly worth meeting with Representative Pressel.
Right, exactly.
This isn't the first, every year for the last 20-some years we've had this discussion. We have thought of some creative ways to use that money, but that 100% would have been one of your ways. I mean, if you ever had a problem, I highly suggest you use the money for it, because we're not going to use, it's very restricted what we use that money for anyway. And one way or another, we're paying for it anyhow. Whether it's coming out of the general fund or whether it's coming out of your special fund, it doesn't matter. So this is guidance, that's all.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I was wondering if you could kind of give us a comparison of the difference between a part-time prosecutor and a part-time public defender. Part-time prosecutor is an employee of the county. They're being paid more. Do they have additional responsibilities, more hours? What's the difference that would justify them being paid better?
Sure. And I don't know that they're going to have more hours, but they will have a very much stay in compliance with the, for instance, Mr. Fagan would not.
So would you be saying that the prosecutors, part-time people, are having more hours, more work, or is there still parity in the amount of work that they're doing part-time?
I believe that it's very similar in light of all the resources that the prosecutor's office is able to provide, the paralegal, the secretary, all of those types of things. They will have a larger number, for sure. I don't want to mislead, but I believe that the workload is going to be very similar. Our public defenders are in those same courtrooms every time that prosecutor is. Our public defenders are as well.
Would you say that the part-time public defenders that you have would benefit from or appreciate or be more likely to come and work for our county if we were to make them employees, even with the same pay that we offer now, but so they have access to things like perf or able to buy insurance, even if they're part-time and they're not getting county health insurance, they can buy dental and vision insurance through our negotiated rates. They would have access to our 457B retirement plan, all of those sort of perks of being an employee. We would pay their, the payroll taxes. Would that be something that you think would be able to pull in more people in the future?
I don't think they're allowed.
They're not allowed.
I don't think they're allowed.
So we had the same problem with paying insurance.
Yes, they are. We did try other counties.
There are other.
What we tried to do is we tried to put them on.
We were told we were not.
We tried to put them on the county's insurance, similar to prosecutors. That is what we ran into the hiccup on, and it was decided to give the allowance in lieu of putting them on the county's insurance.
There's a reason for it,
I think the real issue is because Mr. Bragy was hesitant, just based on the kind of the experience that we have this large group of attorneys who for a long time have operated the way that they have, making them employees versus independent contractors. And I think that was where the real issue is it was difficult to provide insurance for independent contractors versus to become employees.
We have full-time
And
offices.
in all candor, I mean, I think that's probably something that we are going to have to move toward, and that probably as we move forward, I'll be standing in front of you making these asks as we move forward, because I do, and I think it's a huge recruiting tool. I don't know that it's going to be as impactful for the attorneys we already have, but I definitely think moving forward, you know, it's growing up as an attorney in this area. I mean, the lore was always get on the public defender staff in Lake County, get on the public defender staff in Porter County because they provide insurance. And so, you know, those jobs were fought over versus maybe not quite so much with our county.
There's also is a benefit that if you are a governmental employee and a lawyer, just like our prosecutors, you have the possibility of debt forgiveness. So you have the possibility of debt forgiveness, but if you are a public defender in LaPorte County right now, you don't, because you are, as Justin says, you are not a governmental employee. So there are many benefits to the potential.
Right. Obviously, this is something that I think everybody up here agrees that we need to somehow make this better than what it is, but how we get there is the way
Chief Flynn is trying to get at is we're going to be moving things, right? We've got to evolve from where Craig had some things to where we need to be now to not only compete but also to come in compliance with where the state wants us.
And is this your liaison?
Yes, and I was gonna ask you, a good example is when you said you lost 2 of your 4 people in juvenile. It's not like she can just give the other 2 people more cases, because there's restrictions from the state. That's where her limitation is.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right, any other questions or comments on this one?
I will tell you, I do have the amount of the balance of their account is 265.5,
Really? I thought it was more than that.
the supplemental.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next item is,
We got one more.
you got one more.
Supplemental fund.
Your supplemental fund, which is, there's no change to it.
Motion to approve as presented.
Doesn't matter, go ahead. Adam and Justin.
Motion by Adam and seconded by Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Attorney Holford, thanks for coming in this report.
Thank you.
I would have been here earlier.
Oh, you were ahead of time, you weren't late.
I had an eye surgery yesterday. It didn't go well.
Sorry.
But I'm in trouble this morning.
Right. Thank you.
Watch the door. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you.
Regardless of what the
I'll be contacting you.
You're not so bad.
What do they say about us? I'm going to tell them. You got to go read.
If only some of the things they said were true. It's not true.
Next item is the treasurer's
Number 10.
103. Good morning,
Next year, can I not follow them?
Madam Treasurer.
It's a hard
Yeah.
act to follow.
Should have had him stick around to introduce you.
Mr. Loud City's for hire. I mean,
Yeah. And my budget, I only want 50,000 extra. So, no, I don't.
I have $886,
That's what I have.
and it's partially in payroll.
I do have 2 increases. One is dues because they increased my dues this year. And we already have word from our L&D mail masters that there is gonna be an increase next year.
I see a reduction in clerks, but I see almost an equivalent increase in part-time or OT.
Right. If you remember, last year, we came before you for extra money because of the reconciliation. We're almost finished with that. But the part-time right now we use for mostly collection. We do have a part-time girl that comes in on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, but during collection she's there full days. So that's my reason for part-time.
The increase in printing was just due to printing costs going up? Is that, or printing it?
Yeah, I'm confused by the OT in there, and that's...
Is that also the cost of mailing, like tax bills, or?
No, the postage comes from the commissioners, yes.
So what's the printing OT?
That's the printing of the tax bills.
OT.
Other printing. I don't know what OT means.
Wouldn't that be OP?
Yeah.
No, it's every, that's the description.
That's a state
Doesn't mean
description.
out of the office, like out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody's, yeah.
Outforthing?
Outforthing office.
Forthing
Yeah, there you go.
would be the proper,
Whatever it is, it's our tax bills.
All right.
Just curious on your 24 budget. On your 24 budget, you're 409, but we're into July already, and you've only spent 187,000. Why would there be more?
Where are you?
Bottom line of the first page of your only page for 103. See at the bottom, 24 budget request was 409.
It's the totals.
It was adopted, but your expenditures so far this year are only at 187,362, which is way
I don't
less.
think I have that on my paper.
Well, the big deal is in the part-time area. You've only used roughly 400 out of the 15,000 so far, which was
Right.
unusual.
But
which would be what makes up that difference.
Joey?
we'll use that.
That's part of it.
Bottom line there.
Bottom line where?
Bottom line, 409.
Yeah.
You use money.
Going over.
Go over, now go over it right there.
It looks to be mostly due to the clerks, 21,000 expended out of 81.
187,000.
Because I wrote.
Yeah, it's the,
And then you're
right, it's the clerks.
It's the clerks. You
The change in
Yeah.
the clerks.
spent your $60,000.
I see 409,219. In actuality, we've used $200,957.79.
Wait a minute, say that again?
$200,957.79.
That makes more sense.
Would that be to date?
The date of the paper that you have would be as of July 1st.
It's exactly
But
half
that's
the year.
only halfway through. Exactly, all right, that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
So, let's talk about the clerks for a second. So, we should be 42,000 through. Right now, we're roughly half.
Well, we had two clerk positions that were not filled right away. We couldn't fill them because frankly, the salary is so low. I still have a Comet 3 in my office, and I don't know if
Those are
of
rare.
any other office that has Comet 3s.
Salary for that?
I can't tell you that. It's like 30,
It's just under 40.
no, it's like 36 or 35.
In mid-30s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Comet 3 and you know,
I don't have that book.
Let's be honest here, a $35,000 job is at minimum $17.50 an hour plus benefits. And we just got done talking at $16.50 with no benefits, it's no big deal.
But that's part-time versus full-time.
I understand that.
right, but I think I know what you're saying.
Benefits is pretty significant.
Right, but people still, I mean, I had a girl that was ready to come to work. She was great. She had banking experience, so she knew how to count money. She knew how to take money. And the day she was supposed to start, she called and said she got a better offer. So, you know, how do you compete with that?
If I may add, a Comet 3 after 6 months is $38,569.
Thank you.
After 6 months or 3 months?
6 months.
Okay.
Does it show the starting?
Yeah, 37,813 for 6 months.
No.
We're all in the right part.
We're on the right page.
I do have those positions filled now, though. So, yeah, hopefully they'll stay for a while.
Are you still job sharing with the assessor's office?
We are. During the collection, I had one of the assessor's staff, come over and help us. And vice versa, if he needs help stuffing bills, or not bills, the Form 11s.
The appeals.
Yeah, whatever. We're happy to do that.
So, I know you're competing with the outside world, but, we're only working 37 and a half hours in LaPorte County land. And you get 19 holidays. Nobody gets 19 holidays outside the place. Plus you get automatic vacations that are at higher. So we're doing pretty well for the people that come to LaPorte
Trust
County.
me, those are things that I have said when I interview. Because I think we have great benefits and we do have more holidays off than anybody else. But to
Sick
some
days,
people, it just
people get
doesn't
sick
matter.
days, snow days, because the commissioner shut it down for everything, so,
Yay.
yeah.
Day after
You're not commissioner, Barb. I'm just telling you.
Doesn't matter which one.
But the council also gets the day off when the commissioner shut it down, just never mind.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm not at it.
Anything else? What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. Motion to approve is presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, yes. Guys got it? It's Tim.
Tim?
Nate.
Tim?
Nate.
Oh, and nay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just mark me down for a,
Line all the way down.
Mark me down.
And just, oh, okay.
make it 8-1 the whole day.
8-1.
You're doing the math, so. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, before we get started, I want to make sure the prosecutor understands he's booked from 11:15 to 11:30 and 11:30 to 11:45, but you don't have to use it all.
I can certainly talk that long if you need me
That's
to.
Trust me, we all know that.
It's a friendly suggestion.
Less pointing,
You're not allowed to.
no finger guns.
Guns going.
He is 108 and 137, so there's 2 tabs for him.
Thank you.
May I?
You may.
Okay. You have an investigator, key investigator that you've recently hired. I can't identify where she is on your budget because I think you have 2 investigators on staff.
No, well, it depends. We have the one in the 108, which is funded primarily out of public safety lit. And then we have an investigator who's more of a process server. That person works over in 137 child support.
Okay, but my understanding, one of these investigators makes significantly more money than 57,000. The highest person that you have here listed is a 57,000 in the opioid and 51,294 in the public safety lit.
So our investigator, we've been trying to do a push so our investigator funded out of public safety lit it is also funded by a supplement out of incentive funds. So that person does dual duty where they work a percentage of their time, more than 50% over on the criminal side. And then the other half is investigating cases related to child support prosecutions, because the one investigator we've had for a long time is more of a process server, locating parents, serving documents, that kind of thing. So we wanted to do an expanded push into more prosecutions. And so in order to attract a quality candidate, we used the investigator position funded out of public safety, and used the incentive funds to supplement that salary in order to attract a quality candidate.
Where am I gonna find the incentive funds so I make sure I'm talking the same language you are?
I don't believe something was sent out of incentive funds, but
It's not council approved.
How come?
Okay,
by definition.
so the taxes and all of the things related to that share of the wages are paid for from that other fund?
Yes, sir.
And retirement benefits?
So,
Yes, sir.
never mind. Disregard.
I also, when I added up all of your 100 accounts, they come up approximately, I don't know if I have the number here. I had it where it came up approximately $50,000 more than the prior year. And some of it was step increases, but not that much of it was that high. It was $1,000 here, $1,000 there,
In 108.
but the overall total 100 accounts are higher from the prior year. Just trying to see where I found that. I have in the plain one, in the plain prosecutor 108, there's just a step increase of 1732. That's the only increase I could find there. There's a step increase under the public safety lit of 1,000. And I don't know why I kept finding, oh, and then we have when you add the new position under the opioid restricted fund, that's, I guess, where we have the 57,000. So that's where I'm thinking that.
The $57,000 is the person you came last night for the 30-some thousand on the opioid, and this is the full amount for next year.
Correct.
Out of opioid.
Correct.
And this is with a problem-solving.
Yeah, we have a number of problem-solving courts, and so this person covers that and potentially any additional problem-solving courts in the future.
Correct. Which perfectly fits with the opioid fund coming out of there.
Correct.
Did you get something?
So what was the position that we lost that was a grant position? Where was that at?
That would be one of our victim advocate positions, but the grant does not, the current existing grant runs through September 30th, and then we have a new grant for another 2-year cycle from 24-26. So we were underfunded by a measure of $30,000 to $40,000. So we were, that's part of why I came last night and why.
That was just to cover like this. We knew that. That's a temporary, but what was, this is budgeting for 2025.
Right.
That's temporary.
Where you at with the grant?
Where are we at with the grant? That's what I keep bringing up.
Well, we know we're gonna be short the 40-ish.
Wait. We lost the grant, so let's just, sorry, you have to explain it to me.
The grant wasn't fully funded. Is that correct? You didn't lose the grant. You didn't get as much as you thought.
Right.
So it wasn't, they didn't lose it 100%.
They lost an employee.
They didn't lose, but it came up short. They didn't lose 100% of it.
No, that's not what was brought up to us. They said they didn't have enough for one of the employees on the grant. That was
Didn't have enough.
For one employee, yes.
Correct. But it wasn't the full amount. I'm just telling you.
Okay, one more time, Randy. When they did this thing, they brought it up. I'm gonna ask one more time, not your way. I'm gonna ask my way. We lost a position on a grant. A position on a grant. What was that position?
The victim advocate, but there's nuance to that, Mr. Yagelski.
Okay.
Yeah, well, John, he'll raise his voice at you.
Well, no, because if you ask you for 17 on your way, you keep explaining. Let him explain it. You're not answering that question.
I've had this conversation. That's why I was trying to help. I'm sorry.
You're not even finishing it.
Sorry. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Explain.
All right. So when we applied for the grant earlier in the year, we knew we would see a reduction in the grant coming up in October for the new 2-year grant.
Okay.
So in order to use existing funds as best we could, we were looking at different ways of how do we come up with money in our budget now. So the solution I came up with was we use the opioid grant, the opioid restricted, to fund that deputy prosecutor. So that's what we did last night for the rest of the year, and that's why we're presenting it again for this year. So that way, the funds that are budgeted for that position out of the general fund would be consistent with this year's budget, so that we wouldn't be adding new spending to the general fund, because we know we're not going to need all the appropriated amount for that former position. We just don't know how we're going to do it quite yet, because there are funds, general fund, because right now each of the 3 victim advocate positions that are supported by the grant are 90% by the grant, 10% of that cost is funded by general fund, because when we added, they used to be, before we got the 10% raise, they were all grant supported. But when we added the raise, we didn't have enough money in the grant, so we had to come up with money somewhere to fund that raise. That came from general fund. So when we applied for the new grant, we had to bake in there that 90% grant, 10% general fund. Now that we have this new grant coming up in October, we're working with ways, okay, how can we shift some of those funding levels where it's 100%, two positions are 100% grant funded, and then we have a small remainder from the grant that exists. So we're trying to get the state to allow us to do 2 grant support, totally 100% grant supported, then a third position that's grant supported, tax general fund supported. So by balancing funds that are already existing without increasing the overall line from 24 into 25 on the general fund, that's how we're thinking of doing.
Okay, you're going to the future. I'm trying to ask the original process. There were 3 victim advocates. We lost one of the positions total because of the grant. We didn't have enough for that one person. That's before the 10%. You did not have enough grant money for one position. So because there's 3 positions that were grant related originally.
Well, traditionally, well.
No, it was, 'cause I had written it down. You had 3 original positions. You lost one position of grant money.
And that, well, last year, then it was supplemented by a supplement grant.
We agreed for the supplement.
There was a supplement grant that was given by the state to fund that third position. So because there are 3 positions plus one that's supported by general fund. So 3 grants, 1 general fund. So last year we took away the funds from the grant, from the general fund, used that towards other positions. And then we had the 3. And then once we had the grant, the general fund reappropriated for 2024, that's how.
Is there a chance of getting that grant money back for that position?
That's what I was asking. That was
bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Are you applying to get that refunded?
The position we lost. Are you going to get
one
that
we
back?
lost?
To get 3 instead of 2.
No, the original 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to get back to, yeah.
Instead of monopoly money, instead of moving it around, we need to get the grant money back. We lost a position for grant, is what we did. So I understand, because you were part of the year, I get that whole thing too. I understand everything about the math or how we're.
The state reduced the amount of your grant money.
Right.
Is there a chance, are you applying to get that money back? Is there a chance the state's gonna give more money? Are we asking for the higher amount and the state's coming in short? Because if all we're asking for is what's short, we're never gonna get that back, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, the grant, we know how much we're gonna get, so.
And is it short?
Yeah, by 30 to 40 grand.
One employee.
What's the reason, what's the state's reasoning for that?
Well, it's funded by federal crime collections at the federal level. That number was under appropriated by the federal government, and then that money gets sent out to the states, and then the state gives it to the local people. So reduced funds at the federal level.
So it's way out of our hands.
Yeah, so I talked to our congressman, with Senate, federal legislators saying, hey, you should vote for an increase on this. Not very much big on increased federal spending, but this is something that's good.
But if I'm not mistaken, it's collected by fees?
Yeah, so
how is that an increase in, the fees are down? There's not as much crime in the country as.
It depends on how I don't know about that, but.
Elections are bad?
Whatever they do at the federal level in terms of restitutions, fees, all that kind of thing, all I know is those numbers are down and it affects us.
I think last night you called it voodoo money, I called it monopoly money today, so we both had our different terminologies. Could you give me just that one victim advocates for the last couple of years so we can get our numbers straight on that, please?
Is that the 51,000?
On the grant money from 2023, 2024. Could you get that for me, please, from the grant money that we received?
How much is the salary for that person?
Pretty sure people.
Yeah, that computer.
48, 49, something like that.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you, why don't you write that part, just if you can see what you can do, because the original grant that we had, the original one that paid for all three, could you give it to me and how that's gonna work out for 2025 with the grant?
Well,
2 positions or 3.5, 2.5? Where are we at with that?
well, when we originally coming into 2024, we had 3 people.
That's a general.
Well, no, just 3 grant support people. And then when we had it reappropriated for 2024, we're in the process of hiring someone. Then we had somebody leave, and then we got knowledge that our grant would be cut short, or our award would be short for October of this year. So currently we have 3, but we've learned that we can't sustain our obligations and operations with just 3 people. We need to be fully staffed at 4. So by keeping our 24 numbers, our 24 budget going into 25, plus the additional appropriation for the opioid, we're able to hire another person, because we just want to sustain our budget for 25, because we know we're not going to use all that appropriated money for the position, because we're still determining how much money we're going to need, because there are certain things we can do, as I've explained.
When will you know that amount?
Well, depends on the person we hire, depends on depending on what you guys do today, depending, it a lot.
Grant, how much are we short on the grant? That's what?
Like around 40-ish.
40-ish.
Yeah, give or take, because I'm thinking of different numbers in my head, and I get.
Explain real quick, what does a victim's advocate do?
Well, we're required to provide victim notification and services under state law to certain victims of crime. So if you have, say for instance, invasion of privacy, domestic violence, felonies, we're required to send out certain notices to keep those families informed. When we have, say, like a murder or something, we are required to communicate with those victims and those families, because they have certain rights under the law that we have to help facilitate. So we've done a lot in reducing the overall caseload, but we're still filing a number of cases. The bread and butter of what we do, the great bulk of what we do, are misdemeanors and level 6 felonies. But a lot of those major felonies that we do, a lot of domestic violence, depending on the crime, we still have to do our part under state law in order to maintain, because we've had cases where, if we don't have say for instance, you have a case, our victim advocate will liaison with the family, send them a plea agreement, or send them notifications as to, hey, you need to be in court this day. This is the proposed plea agreement that the state is wanting to give the defendant. We have to provide that, and if we don't, that jams up cases and slows down the docket.
Right.
We're trying to keep the docket moving as fast as we can, because we have, justice delayed is not good for a defendant, for the court's time, for us. So we're trying to be as efficient as we can.
Then perhaps the state should keep up with their grants on victim advocates. They don't want log jams and everything else.
Well, that's a federal issue, to be honest.
Right.
So, but we feel that.
Mr. Fagan?
Yes, sir.
Could I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, sir.
In your 108 account, you cut $50,000 from an investigator. It shows you $48,000 under your previous budget. On the other one, you went up $1,000, so let's say it's $47,000 cut. Would it be fair to say you could operate on last year's budget and then you would have enough money to cover that $40,000 charge?
You mean this year's budget?
For 2025.
Your 24 budget, if they
Same
approved
budget
it
this year for
for
next year.
25, then you would actually have about $47,000 that would help cover the shortage for the grant shortage.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, what I'm asking.
But you're not asking that. What you proposed is a $48,000 cut in 108.
But they also added somebody 57,000 elsewhere.
Well, the budget is a $48,000 reduction.
Correct.
All I'm asking.
Yeah, but added
You
general
asked for
fund.
a
You're right.
$40,000 reduction when you're talking about you're $40,000 short on a grant. Let's leave it as it is.
Right, you shouldn't be asking.
So I'm gonna make your proposal for you. You are asking us to maintain your 2024 budget as it was presented
Right.
for 25.
With, you're shaking your head there.
You should not be
Taking that-
getting extra.
You should take a bargain we've got.
I think you should stop where you're at, because I think he's doing you a favor.
And then instead of putting online
So-
10137.
What Mr. Cunningham is proposing
101.
is, at the end of the day, with you moving that person to the opioid fund, you're gonna have the $48,000 opening in this budget to fund that shortage. Isn't that what you're here for?
Yes, I want to.
He's saying exactly what it is you're looking for.
You're welcome.
There you go. Is there a second on Mr. Cunningham's?
Second. Question,
Go ahead.
or maybe just a statement. I don't know if everybody understands, and this has nothing to do with you, Mr. Prosecutor. We have another, if you guys remember over the years, these judges have formed all these drug courts and all this stuff. They formed all these, and they didn't have to come to us because they had grant money. Then all of a sudden the grant money went, and then they said, no, we need people to reimburse these people, so we're trying to fill these positions. We have a couple of judges that are asking for additional courts like this. There's a psych court coming out of Freeman's office, I believe.
It's in the initial stages, yeah.
Mental health. This is mental health. So this is not going. They're coming in through the back door asking for more and more of this stuff without actually getting the people proved and all this type of stuff. So it's we're still playing this kind of shell game or whatever. Or like yours, I liked yours better Voodoo last night, but I'll use Monopoly money. But sooner or later, we got to pay the bill. So I don't know when or where, but I just want to mention the fact that there's more they're asking for besides, not you, Mr. Prosecutor, but there's more that asking, and the ask are being more than we can pay right now.
So where are you at with referrals into drug court and veterans court?
Well,
the numbers are down.
Like I said, we wanted to make sure
Funding was
adequate.
Now that we've
you want to
jump that hurdle.
For both the rest of the year and from what it sounds like for next year as well.
So referrals should be.
We can begin that process. We didn't want to cause too much system change, so we kind of delayed things for a little bit. But now that we are where we need to be with funding adequate, more than adequate, great funding levels for the rest of this year and for next year, as it sounds, then the process will resume with getting people in just because.
That's what, if you,
I think that's, it's not that we didn't, that I
Just want to make sure you
we just,
You support the program.
yes, but as an elected official, as a department head, making sure that as you heard, the public defender's office there, and is on a number of levels, there's an attorney shortage in Indiana. The Supreme Court is working to increase those levels. We're also, there's pay is not able to, what state government can pay compared to what local municipalities, county governments can pay. It's a struggle to find and retain, and the staff we have now is great. And so we're just maintaining things, and just by working with what we have, we're able to do a lot.
He says you're getting all the good people. Yeah, it's getting bad.
I get it. And I just want to add one caveat. Having attended the majority of all the veterans courts and drug problem courts, the graduations and everything like that, I personally think it's a fantastic program, and it helps to rehabilitate these people and get them on the right path, and has a high percentage of what's the word I'm looking for?
Recidivism.
That's it. And I think it's a great program. I agree with Mr. Yagowski. They need to come through the front door instead of the back door to get these things funded, but it's truly, I think, a good program. So with that,
Mr. President, let me reinstate my motion because there's a 24 adopted budget, 24 requested budget. My motion is that we budget for 25 exactly at the 2024 requested budget.
Right. Right. You good with that, Adam?
Here's the 30,000.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Who nayed?
Me.
You both nayed?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
One more.
Yeah, we have the,
We have one more.
Yep.
137.
137.
Difference.
it is,
11.
It's 40.
30s. Hang on a second.
we have two more.
What is the,
We have a new one, the opioid restricted fund.
may I ask a question on that last one? What
Oh, we have,
line numbers change, if you don't mind me asking?
Let me run through the list real quick. So, investigator goes from 0 to 50,294.
Well, it's as presented. For the, I mean, it's as,
can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
What basically really moved over was the 10137, the investigator that we didn't have
That's
before.
what he said, yeah.
However, there's a step increase, so we have to actually reduce that so that you can keep your step increase and not have a problem when you're paying next year under the victim's advocate.
10138.
Unless we move all of that into victim's advocate, which I would suggest that you do. What I'm trying to say is that I want to add, I'm suggesting that we take the 10137, the 50,294, and add it to the 264,324 from the requested. So that way you have the step increase plus you have $50,000 more, roughly,
Okay. So,
if everybody agrees.
so 10137 stays at 0. Victims advocate goes from 266,056 to 330. It looks like 340.
I have 314,618.
314,618.
So are you,
314.
but this,
So we're putting all the money in victim's advocate because that's where you're short anyway.
3146.
yeah, but the
3146.
the investigator
the
position
investigator
though,
money needs to stay there. That's why we're approving this budget.
See,
This line.
wait a second. You remove the
That money
investigator
stays in there.
on this one. And you have the investigator in other areas now.
yeah, and public safety. Public safety lit, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need an investigator under this general fund.
But it's still there.
From the grant, where were we gonna be short? We were gonna be short under a victim's advocate or an investigator.
Where do you want that $50,294 to go?
From deputy prosecutor to,
So going into victims advocate, is that what you're gonna?
yeah, but I just wanted to make,
They're not suggesting lowering your deputy prosecuting attorney. They're suggesting taking last year's request, which was then moved to lit.
No, I know, it's easier if you see it in print, so that's why I brought this around. So what happens is we have this whole column was moved over.
Right.
Okay, when we move this over, I don't have enough in the victim's advocate for the step increase. So we have to move something over for that. So then, out of the 50,000, I have to take a piece of it. I have to take 1732 and move it over for that, just so that this line stays where we don't run into trouble in next year.
Okay, well, I just, frankly, I just wanted to keep everything the same, so that way because this money, so the money was taken out of here, this is where Barb is paid, deputy for opioids, so that money.
Thanks, Duke.
It's now over 57, so if you keep that the
I can
same.
keep everything there except for this increase.
Thanks, Sheriff.
So it'll be 49,000, something like that.
Okay,
You go with that?
but this position is still funded out of.
It'll be funded at, oh yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, so down below here, this.
11:45, if she can come.
My magic
Yeah, but this I have on the second tab.
says.
I just brought it over to
Yes,
see
but I'll
it.
text her.
But this is gonna stay completely, we're gonna do that on.
Oh, wait till after lunch?
Okay, so my budgets are staying the same.
So tell her not to
The
come.
only thing is,
Things are getting moved.
Run over here, lickety split.
so we're giving you 50,000.
Or,
Okay, all right.
Wait till after
Because
lunch.
But we're,
just have lunch early.
we're at
Just tell her
the
to-
victims advocate levels where
Come
you
in.
need it, because you have the.
What time would you like her to come back?
11:45.
That's what I'm.
12:45. 12:45.
Okay, because it's early. So, okay, all right, I think that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, so now that he sees it, we're gonna eliminate the, it's gonna be 0 on the 10137 investigator line, and we're moving that 50,294 into the victims advocate officer, which we mentioned before, at 314,618.
314, 600.
618.
618.
It's,
I just wanted him to see it so that he understood it, and it doesn't change the investment.
or come,
This,
Which is what.
so we're,
Voodoo magic.
so we're good.
I think so, but I'm not a CPA, so.
All right, now we're moving on to
Auditor you're working with.
137.
safety is.
no, we do have that.
Yep, do that next.
It should be right under, the sheet right under.
Right. This is the person that we put into lit public safety.
Motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And then opioid restricted.
This is the one from last night. Cheryl,
What number is this next one?
this is.
You just
very
flip the
next
page. It's 1230.
37 slash.
I got it.
101.
Yep, okay.
Is that a motion, Earl?
Motion approved as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then 2501.
This is a pretrial diversion.
And just so you know ahead of time, this money is moved from 2,500 to to cover that budget.
This is pretrial diversion money.
Right.
So this isn't, just so everybody knows, this is taxpayer money. This
Correct.
money
He's-
collected that he
Yeah,
usually,
Public.
as a courtesy, comes before us to tell us what he's gonna spend it on.
Motion to approve as
I think it
presented.
needs council approval regardless.
That's a
Second.
subliminal
Second.
thought, so we remember. Motion by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
And then 137, which is a few tabs down.
Peterson.
It's 4D.
137. Well, 130,
It is a yellow tab.
137, 4D child support.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham,
Second.
second by Mr. Keel. Any? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Thank you. Is that it?
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to your continued support of problem-solving court and veterans court.
We love our veterans and we love those who we help.
Thank you.
What about mental health court? Just messing with you. Oh.
Well, I can say this real quick, real quick on that. That's we're only in the initial planning stages, so anything getting and it only really applies to a small cohort of maybe 5 to 10 people. So it's only in the initial planning stages. So at minimum, 18 to 2 years from now, anything would be getting off the ground, fundamentally running. Different ones. So we're just.
I think you said
Thank you.
PR.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Break for lunch?
With that, we're gonna take a lunch break.
What does it mean?
IT has to be moved to
RFQs are request, P's,
right.
RFP's
Proposals.
We're taking a break.
Who takes action to affect?